But right now we're talking about manifesting and what it is and what it isn't. So what I want to do right now is I want to look up the word wish, because a lot of people be wishing and they think they be manifesting. So let's look up the word wish here on Webster and see what we got. So the first definition that comes up when we look up the word wish is to have a desire for something, such as something unattainable. So the word unattainable is actually in the word wish. I mean, in the definition for the word wish, to have a desire for something that you deem unattainable. So once you start to wish for something, you automatically writing it off as a possibility. I need a miracle to happen for this to even exist. That's not manifesting is. A few days ago, we ran through theory of mind. 2 days ago, I believe, we ran through theory of mind. And we talked about how we get to think the way we think, how we got to this point, this set of patterns that we run on automatic. And we're going to run through theory of mind again after we talk a little bit about what manifesting is. I want to talk about theory of mind and relate it to manifesting. But let's jump back over here to Webster and let's look at the word manifest. Most people ain't never took the time to look up the word manifest. They think they know what it means, but they don't. So when we look up the word manifest over here, the first definition is readily perceived by the senses and especially by the sense of sight. Now you can see that don't mean wishing, that don't mean hoping. It says readily perceived by the senses and especially by the sense of night. It readily perceived. So check this out. If you grew up in poverty, you grew up lower class, you grew up in where people were making lower income, it's a pretty good chance that it's readily perceivable, that poverty is readily perceivable to you. It's what you know well, it's what you know inside. Now you've had the most hands-on experience with it. So it's what's readily perceived by you. In order to manifest abundance, abundance has to become what you readily perceive. The second definition right here is easily understood or recognized by the mind. Obvious. These are the definitions for manifest. Readily perceived by the senses and especially by the sense of sight, readily perceived. The second definition is easily understood or recognized by the mind. Now, if you easily recognize poverty, if you easily recognize lack of opportunity, if you easily recognize things like I would be rich already, but such and such happened, but this system is holding me back. If that's what you readily perceiving, that's what you're manifesting. So the art of manifesting is practicing readily perceiving the reality that you would like to acquire. Let's slow that down. Let's slow that down a little bit because I just spit out a lot. The art of manifesting is practicing being able to readily perceive the earth, the world, the life that you desire. If you keep being readily available, readily perceiving the world that you've already known, you're going to continue to recreate it. And if you pass those same realizations down to your children, they're going to continue to perceive it. When somebody come into my office for a quit smoking session, that's what we spend that 2 hours doing. We get them to readily perceive all the benefits of being a non-smoker. They came in readily perceiving the fact that these cigarettes help me relax. If I feel anxious, I go outside, smoke a cigarette, I feel better. I've been doing this for 20 years. They perceive themselves as a smoker. If you ask them to describe themselves to you, like that's part of the process. Oh, if I was gonna say, hey, I'm gonna be you for 24 hours, what do I need to know to be you? They gonna tell me, oh, bro, you got to smoke 20 cigarettes a day. That's how they perceive themselves. That's how they readily perceive themselves. I'm curious. Hold on. I want to go through the thesaurus and see what's some synonyms for manifest. So when we go back over here, let me make sure did I click y'all on? Yeah, y'all right here with me. Let me make sure y'all can see what's going on. Uh-oh. Now, when we look this up this way, when we go through the thesaurus and look up manifest, it says not subject to misinterpretation or more than one interpretation. I love it. Not subject to misinterpretation. If you manifest abundance, if you manifest in health, you got to get so locked on the health that it can't be misinterpreted. It can't be mistaken for something else. You got to realize how wealthy you already are. If you're brown like me, you already got this thing called melanin. This you can't even really put a value on. If you got eyes that work, if you got taste buds that work, you already rich. So becoming like readily accessible to the things that you already have, readily accessible to, man, I got a brain. I can come up with ideas. I could cook up things in here. If you can just become aware of how abundant you already are, then you can start to grow that abundance. If you can become aware of how healthy you already are, you start becoming readily available to what's already there. And when you practice it, you get it to the point where you can't mistake it, even if you have the optical illusion of lack. I love that. That's some clarity, right? I ain't never said that before in that way. Lack is an optical illusion. I'm writing that down for me. I ain't even for y'all. Lack is an optical illusion, because when you think about it, let's think about it. There's no such thing as lack. Lack is simply the absence of abundance. That don't make no sense, big. Yes, it do. There's no such thing as darkness. Darkness is the absence of light. Like, look, if I walk through my house right now, there's switches I can flip. I can add lightness into this house. I don't got a way to add darkness to this house. The only way I can add darkness is to block out light. Darkness is nothing within itself. It's the absence of light. Does that make sense? That's hard. Darkness is the absence of light. It's nothing within itself. It's the absence of light. Manifesting on purpose, because you manifesting anyway, because only thing manifest means is to make obvious to the eye of the mind. So whatever you make obvious to the mind is what you manifest. If you make it obvious to the mind that you already rich. When I first started calling myself big abundant, I was not abundant. I wasn't. But when I decided I am abundant, and I started making a list of all the things that I have, what happens is the momentum started to pick up. And when I feel abundant, when I manifest abundance, because manifest don't got nothing to do with the physical thing. When I make it obvious to myself that I am abundant, I start thinking like I'm abundant. I start feeling like I'm abundant. So when I'm on a phone call and I'm asking somebody to spend money with me, I'm asking somebody to invest in my company, I feel abundant. It's obvious to my mind that I'm abundant. And then I can transfer that obvious feeling to them. But if I'm on the phone call and it's obvious that I'm in need, it's obvious to me that if I don't make this sale, I ain't gonna eat. I'm manifesting not making the sale. So this is the definition of manifest: to make obvious to the eye or the mind. That's what it means to manifest, to make obvious to the eye of the mind. I recently graduated from another hypnosis program a few months back. It took them 3 months to get me my official certificate. If I was in the office, I'll show it to y'all. It took them 3 months to get me the certificate. But I didn't have to wait on the certificate to start utilizing the things that I learned in the process of getting the certificate. The physical manifestation took 3 months to show up, but I was already done with the process. I already had all the knowledge. And people be confused because oftentimes the paper is the last part to show up. The money is it's the last piece to show up. The paper was 3 months behind the actual manifestation. Man, I hope this making sense. I really hope this making sense. Let's run through theory of mind again, and we're gonna run through theory of mind with this idea of what manifest mean. And just for people who need to hear it again, manifest means to make clear or obvious to the mind. When I'm out hypnotizing people and you see me glue their feet to the floor, see me stick them to the floor, I make it clear to the mind that the foot is stuck. And I don't care how hard you try, it's just stuck. It's like it's in the world's strongest cement. I start giving them details. It's like you stepped in some cement and it just got dry really quickly. And you can feel that foot just pushing down. Nod your head when you feel that. They go, yeah, I feel that. Now, as you feel that, try to lift that foot up and notice that you can't. And if I've done a good job of making it obvious to the mind when they try to lift their foot up, it's not going to budge. That's what manifesting is. It's making it obvious to the mind. It's making it obvious to the mind that it's possible. It's making it obvious to the mind that it's attainable. And when it becomes obvious to you that you can do it, you tend to do it. Now, if you manifest in failure, if it's obvious to you that you're a failure, if it's obvious to you that you can't do nothing right, if it's obvious to you that you're gonna die poor, why wouldn't you procrastinate? Why would you take action? Let's look at this through theory of mind. So we ran through theory of mind a few days ago. We're gonna run through it again. So if you're on Instagram, you can't see this. You gotta go to YouTube to find the video where you can see the screen. So when you're first born, see this big empty circle? Picture that as the mind when you're first born. Now, you're born with what we call the primitive mind. That's where your fight, flight, and freeze is located. Nobody has to teach you how to fight, flight, and freeze. You're born with the understanding that when facing the threat, you got three options. You can fight it, you can get the hell away from it, or you can freeze in place. Nobody has to teach you that. Did y'all know that a baby is only born with two fears? A baby is only born with two fears. A baby has a fear of falling and a fear of loud noises. That's the only two ways you can scare a baby. You could talk to a baby about a recession. Baby doesn't care. You could talk to the baby about cancer. Baby doesn't care. You could put a newborn baby on a stage in front of 5,000 people. The baby doesn't care. It hasn't learned to fear those things, right? So for the first 8 years of your life, what you're doing is you're making associations. You're identifying an association. This is how we learn. We identify and associate. We identify and associate. That is what learning is identifying and associating. And that's what you're doing for the first 8 years of your life. This thing right here is called a bottle, and this yummy stuff called milk comes from it. So you start to identify the bottle and you associate the bottle with milk. You touch the stove, you burn yourself, you might identify out the stove, painful. So you make these identifications. That's what you're doing for the first 8 years of your life. You're making some positive associations. You're making some negative associations. Like if you grow up in a house with a dog and you love this dog, you cuddle with this dog, you always around this dog, you might make a positive association to dogs. Somebody who grew up in a house without a dog, they might get bit. Somebody who got bit by a dog as a kid, they might have a negative association to dogs. Now, two people can be looking at the same exact dog, but based off of their associations, they experience the dog different. Based on what's obvious to their mind. What's obvious to their mind gives birth to their experience of the dog. Y'all tracking with me? So for the first 8 years of your life, you're just making these associations. And these associations become what you call known associations. Because the subconscious mind doesn't work by safe, unsafe. It don't work by that. It works by familiar and unfamiliar. So if you grew up in an environment where lack was extremely familiar, where you got to speak all the time, look, we about to go in the store, don't ask for shit, you ain't getting shit. Your association is lack. Your associations don't ask for shit because I ain't getting shit. So when you find yourself in a situation where you need to make a sale, where you need to make an offer, where you need to ask for something, if that's the subconscious pattern you run it, you either gonna not ask at all, or when you do ask, you expecting not to forget it. It's already obvious to you. You already manifested. You're not getting it. So the way you change that is you got to redo the conditioning. You got to make another set of circumstances obvious to the mind. So let's finish running through this theory of mind. We're going to keep tying this into this manifesting thing we're talking about. But so from the ages of 0 to 8, we're making all of these associations. At about the age of 9, we start to develop what's known as our critical mind. Now, our critical mind serves as a filter. We got this big pile of association, literally millions of associations. Then around the age of 9, we started to develop the critical faculty. Now, the critical faculty is half subconscious and it's half conscious. Now, the job of the critical faculty is to filter information. We get output from external sources. We get input from external sources. What our critical mind does is it takes that information, it looks down into the subconscious mind, and see if it aligns with what we believe to be true. And if it doesn't, it kicks it out. So you got this limited mindset already running. It's already obvious to your mind that you're undeserving and that don't ask for nothing because you're not getting nothing, right? Now, when you go to make a sale, you could be telling yourself from this conscious mind, from that upper 12%, I'm gonna make this sale. I got this. Like you're doing your affirmations. Now, if those affirmations don't align with what's in the subconscious, what's below the consciousness, critical mind gonna kick it right out. Critical mind will kick it right out. And it's estimated that the subconscious mind is 88% of your thinking ability, whereas the conscious mind is only 12%. So the conscious mind, that's where your logic, your analysis, your reasoning, your decision making, that's what all of that stuff is. That's in the 12%. That's where you make decisions that I want to lose 30 pounds. That happens in this 12%. But what happens is it has to get through the critical mind. The critical mind, like, look, I don't like the gym. I don't want to go to the gym. People looking at me. They already been working out. I'm overweight. I'm starving. You got all these associations. Right now, you associate the gym with struggle. You associate the gym with feeling uncomfortable. You associate losing weight is hard because you tried this one time and it didn't work out. So you associate losing weight with making you feel like a failure. And this is not everybody's situation. It's just the example that we happen to learn to land on. So when you try to use the 12% and overpower the 88% and go to the gym anyway, you might get in there a day or two, but it's not going to be long lasting because it's only 12%. That 12% is going to tap out before that 88% taps out. So in order to establish that habit of going to the gym, you got to start the process of manifesting. What did we say manifesting is? Manifesting is the process of making something readily available to the mind, making it readily believable to the mind. It's not wishing for it. In fact, when you wish for it, you vibrationally separate yourself from it. The mere fact of making it a wish is saying, I don't believe it's possible. So that's where manifesting and wishing go in two separate directions. Manifesting and wishing are not the same thing. Wishing is saying, oh man, I just hope that fall in my lap by some magical stroke. Because it ain't no way I can make it happen. So I just hope and wish that somebody else outside of me make. That's what wishing is. Manifesting. And keep in mind, we looked up the word manifest. Let's go back to the dictionary. Let's go back to the dictionary. We looked up the word manifest. The word manifest means, let's get to the dictionary. That's the thesaurus right there. Oh, and while we got the thesaurus pulled up, let's look at some of the synonyms for manifest. Apparent, bald-faced, broad, clear, clear-cut, crystal clear, decided, distinct, evident. These are synonyms of manifest. Unambiguous. Not ambiguous, not cloudy, not I just want more money. If I could just not feel like this anymore. That's not what manifesting is. Manifesting is getting clear cut. It's getting crystal clear. To the point, let's see, the Webster website is tripping over here. Let me see, because some new people that came in. I want y'all to see this for y'allself. Look at this definition for manifest. It says clear or obvious to the eye or the mind. That's what manifest means. Clear or obvious to the eye or the mind. That's what we do in hypnosis. We make it clear, we make it obvious that you can leave it right now in non-smoke. In fact, you already in non-smoke. That's the job. You can drop 30 pounds, man. Dropping 30 pounds easy. In fact, the body you want already there. It ain't like you got to go out and find a new body. It's a matter of you got too much body. It's a matter of just dropping something you already got. You could do that. You ever lost your keys? You could lose weight the same way. You lost your keys on accident. You could lose. It's just getting in that head, throwing ideas at it, make it obvious to the subconscious mind that it's possible. Once you convince the subconscious mind that it's possible, the subconscious mind will tie in the dots. It'll connect all the dots. Imagine taking like a 2x4, piece of wood, 2x4, putting it on your living room floor and walking across it. You could do it with no problem. Now take that same 2x4, find two 30-story buildings and put one end of the 2x4 on that building and the other end of the 2x4 on the other building. Then try to walk across this same piece of wood that you just walked through on your floor. But now the idea that it's on top of two buildings, you're telling yourself a different story. You're telling yourself, oh shit, I'm gonna fall. So now you're not from the same piece of wood, same balance required. But now you manifesting something different. So you're getting a different result. It makes sense? I sure hope so. Let's finish out theory of mind. So back to theory of mind. We're talking about how we get these associations and how the critical mind protects these associations. It doesn't allow anything in. It doesn't align with what we believe to be true in these known associations. So this is what it looks like when new thoughts try to come in, new thoughts from the environment, new suggestions. People try to speak positivity for you. If the critical mind is closed and unwilling to have it, what happens is when you try to put it in, you might hold it in your conscious mind for about 90 minutes. But what's going to happen is it's going to ultimately be rejected. It's ultimately going to be rejected until you somehow get the critical mind to open up. Now, when you get the critical mind to open up and you get the critical mind out of the way, you can instantly start to go in and add new associations, add new meanings. And that's when change starts to happen. Change starts to happen when you change the subconscious. Remember, your subconscious is 88% of your behavior. Conscious mind is only 12%. So you can desire something in the 12%. You could say you manifesting it in the 12%, but if you're not getting that 88% emotionally involved, if you're not taking the time to make it obvious to the 88%, you're not manifesting. You hoping, you talking about it, you discussing. But manifesting is getting the subconscious mind sold on the deal. It's hypnotizing yourself to believe that it's possible. And once you believe that it's possible, procrastination disappear and opportunity shows up. The people show up, the money show up, the circumstances show up, the ideas show up. Everything you need literally starts to show up once you make it obvious to the subconscious mind, because that's what manifesting is. It's the process of making something obvious, readily perceivable to the subconscious mind. That's what it is. It's not wishing. It's not writing down, ooh, I want a 5-bedroom, 3-bath house. I want a 5-bedroom, 3-bath house. Repetition is good, but until you get the subconscious emotionally involved, until you get the subconscious to the point where it's scanning and looking for things all on its own without your conscious mind even on the job, that's when manifesting starts. I talked about moving to Texas for about 3 years. But when I made it obvious to myself that I was moving to Texas, Texas is where I wanted to be. It was the best place for my practice. Texas was loaded with opportunity. It had the right amount of people to carry out all these plans that I have. Because the city that I was in, it wasn't big enough to do everything I wanted to do. I wanted to do these big, huge in-person events. The city I was in didn't have the population to sustain that. But when I made it obvious to myself that I was moving to Texas, it took 3 months. And these are the type of things that start to happen when you start manifesting. It was going to cost me about $5,000 to move my furniture from Washington State down to Texas. And I was chewing on the idea, and I had almost landed on the idea of, I'm going to just sell all this stuff and I'm going to give a lot of it away, sell a lot of it, and just start fresh when I get there. And I kind of pushed the idea to the back burner. I started building the website. I bought a domain called quitsmokingdallas.com. And I just started going ahead and taking care of the stuff that I could do right then. And I started going ahead and doing my Google, my SEO stuff for Texas. I wasn't even in Texas yet. I started putting Texas on all of my Instagram posts, like when you put the location. I started putting Texas on there, Grand Rising Falls. And I went ahead and started doing that type of stuff. One day my uncle called me. He said, you in Washington State, right? I said, yeah. He said, all right, I'm gonna call you back. My uncle called me back about 15 minutes later. He said, hey, my homeboy gonna be up there with his 18-wheeler. He said he gonna be about 45 minutes from you. He could throw your stuff in the truck and bring it down to Texas for you. Now, at first, I'm like, oh, he must think I'm in Seattle. I'm like, I'm not in Seattle, because I'm like, that's the reason most people come watch. I was like, I'm about 4-5 hours east of Seattle. He's like, yeah, I know exactly. I told him exactly where you was. He said he gonna be in Idaho. He gonna be about 45 minutes from you. He gonna be there next Friday. I said, cool. How much you gonna charge me to move my stuff? He said nothing. That's the type of shit that start happening when you lock in on something. The subconscious mind starts working below the scene, and you connect it to everything. But just by making a decision, like I'm moving to Texas, I don't got all the details figured out. I don't know exactly what it's going to look like, but I'm moving to Texas. I made it obvious to my subconscious mind that I was moving to Texas. I'm sitting here doing this live stream from Dallas, Texas. I got a beautiful office downtown in Dallas, Texas. I ain't got no clients in person today, everything virtual. So I didn't go into said office. But I got that once it became obvious, once I got in my imagination and saw it. And I'm not, please don't mistake in saying I'm saying it didn't take any action. It took a lot of action, but it's a different from like inspired action versus forced action, because I was already sold on the idea, because I had already bought in. I'm finna go to Texas. It's all these people, it's so much money, it's so much opportunity. I can't wait to get there. Packing up the house was no problem. Building the new websites, designing the landing pages, doing the networking. It wasn't something I had to do, it was something I wanted to do because of the story I was telling myself, because of what I had made obvious to my subconscious mind. When it was time to go into action, I went into action. Is that making sense? I literally hypnotized myself. I saw myself already in Texas. I saw myself enjoying the benefits of being in this city, only being 4 hours away from my family. I can hop on the road. I can see my family every weekend if I want to. I sold myself on the benefits. I made it obvious in my mind that Texas is where I wanted to be, and there was a lot in Texas waiting on me. Once I made it obvious, once I manifested it, I ain't say once I got to Texas, once I manifested it, I ain't had no choice but to arrive in Texas. Manifesting is not the idea of getting this physical thing. Manifesting is the process of selling yourself on the fact that it's there, selling yourself on the fact that it's attainable. And once you get sold on the fact that it's attainable, procrastination gets out of your way. You don't procrastinate, you want it. If I had $1,000 right here, I say, hey, you want this $1,000? You go, hell yeah, I want that $1,000, because you already sold on the value of the $1,000. Now, if I offered you a coffee cup that had the same amount of bacteria, that touched the same amount of hands as that money, and it hadn't been washed, bro, I don't want that coffee cup. Because you don't, with the money, you thinking about the value. You're not thinking about the fact that $1,000 is disgusting. Each one of those $100 bills and passed through thousands upon thousands of hands. This money ain't been washed since it's been made. This money is filthy. But that's not what you manifesting in that money. You're not manifesting the filth of the money. You manifesting the value of the money. So that's what's obvious to your mind, and you act upon what's obvious to your mind. Man, I hope that makes sense. If you got questions, put them in the comments, DM me, call me. I don't care. This has to make sense to us as a people. We got to understand this. Manifesting isn't wishing. Praying isn't wishing. Praying is the process. Like the Bible opened up telling you what manifesting is. Man, my Bible ain't here. In the beginning, it was black, void, and without form. Close your eyes and tell me what you see. When you first wake up in the morning, you realize your eyes closed. Like before you like open them and say, okay, I'm awake, you realize your eyes are closed and it's black, void, and without form. And from that place, you have the power to start creating things with your words. Now, if you say, let there be these anxious thoughts that I was thinking about yesterday, let me pick up right where I left off. Let me resume arguing with my baby mama because I hate this woman and she get on my nerves. Let me get to this annoying job and it's this lady that, oh, I can't stand Pam. I'm gonna cuss her out. So now, if that's what you manifest and if that's what you making obvious to your mind upon waking up, don't be surprised when you start to relive those conditions. That's what you made obvious to your mind when you opened your eyes. As soon as you woke up, you reach for the phone, you start scrolling down the timeline, and you start manifesting. Oh shit, Pam eating carbs again. She said she wasn't gonna do that. My ex the post. That's what you make it obvious to the mind. Then you surprised that that every week look the same, every month look the same, every year look the same. But you manifesting the same thing. What does manifest mean again? I'm gonna beat this into your head. Manifest means to make clear or obvious to the mind. This ain't something that Big Abundant made up. Let's pull the dictionary out. Manifest clear or obvious to the mind. That's what manifesting is. It's the process of making something clear to your mind. When you want to manifest something, you make it clear to your mind. That's how you get it. When I made it clear to me that I was a dope hypnotist, bro, the trainer showed up. I done studied under Anthony Jacquin. I done studied under Mike Mandel. I done studied under Freddie Jacquin. I done studied under Igor. I done studied under Emerge McVeigh. When I decided I'm a dope hypnotist, and I'm doing whatever it take to close this gap of me being a dope hypnotist. And not, man, if I could just work with Merge, I'm gonna work with Merge one day. Flew out to Arizona, spent the whole weekend with Merge, picking the man brain, understanding everything he do. Same thing with Mike, same thing with Freddie. But it took it being obvious to me first. That's what manifesting is. It's the process of making it obvious to you that it's possible. All the resources here. God created it all in 7 days. He not coming back to create anymore. It's a matter of discovering what's already here. It's already here. You got to sell that idea to yourself, lock it into your mind that it's obvious. If it's obvious to you that you can't be successful because you grew up in the projects and you had a single mom and da da da, if that's what's obvious to you, that's what you're gonna manifest, because that's what you're making obvious to the mind. That's what you're going to act upon. You act upon what you manifest. But guess what? Especially as an adult, guess what? You control the associations in your mind. You control it by the people you hang out with. You control it by the music you listen to. You control it by the things you watch on TV. You control it about when you journal. Ask a lot of my clients, time like, you journal? They be like, yeah, I journal. I'm like, yo, if you don't mind, bring your journal to your next session. Let me show me a page that you feel comfortable sharing. Bro, it's 15 pages of shit they don't want. And my childhood trauma is overtaking me. I just wish my dad would have. You hypnotizing yourself. You making it obvious to yourself that you can't be like you. All right, okay, let's try a new type of journaling for a week. I want you to only write about. I want you to journal about what you want instead. I want you to imagine that this pen is a magic wand, and I'm gonna go whoop, 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 and your whole world just changed. What that look like? I don't know. If you did know, what would it look like? And what happened is, as you start to talk about it, it starts to make new associations in the mind, especially when you get emotion tied in. You get emotion tied in. And don't find a friend that's crazy enough to play along. Oh shit. Now you really got some momentum going. But let's tie all of this. If you don't get nothing else out of this talk we just had, I need you to understand. Manifesting is not wishing. Manifesting is the process of making it obvious to your mind. Once it became obvious to me that I was successful, it didn't take long for the physical representation of that to show up. Once it became obvious to me that I was a charismatic speaker, that I'm good at talking to people, it didn't take long for the evidence to show up. But the first thing you got to do is become aware of it. And then start looking for more and more proof of it. What you mean you got a fear of public speaking? You talk to people all day long. If you see me in the mall and I say hey to you and you say hey back, that's public speaking. You just spoke in public. Well, no, that's not like being on the stage. Now you manifesting what you don't want. What's different about it? Well, it's a lot more people in the room when I'm on the stage. Bro, the mall was full of people. Manifesting is the process of playing with the thoughts, flipping them, and finding a way to look at it that empowers you rather than a way that disempowers you. My people went through 400 years of oppression. We ain't never going to be able to catch up. They had a 400-year head start. Versus, man, my people went through a 400-year oppression, and we still here. We've been through this, we've been through that, we've been through that, and we some strong-ass people. Each one of those stories going to come with two different manifestations. And I done got to the point, I don't even really care about being right no more. I care about being productive. I care about being motivated. I care about being inspired. And I didn't realize I'm so much more influential when I'm telling myself a story that benefits me versus when I'm telling myself a pity why I can't do it story. That's what manifesting is. It's your ability to make obvious to yourself that it's possible. Once you make it obvious to yourself that you're possible, you don't procrastinate. Circling back to that other example, if you won a competition And the person say, hey, you just want $1 million, but you got to be in my house by 5 p.m. tomorrow to get it. You're gonna be like, bet. Hey, where your house at? Your house in Dallas, Texas. Shit, I'm all the way up in New York. I'm gonna figure it out though. If you know it's a guaranteed $1 million on the other end of you getting your ass to Texas, you gonna get your ass to Texas. Now, if you like, man, buddy ain't finna give me $1 million, you're not gonna bother to get there. But if you think it's possible, if it's a possibility, it's $1 million waiting for you, you're gonna take action. It's the same way with your goals. If you think it's a business that can net you $10 million a year, if you just do XYZ, if you get sold on the fact that it's possible to get to 10 million, you think you're gonna be too tired, not feel like it? I got the kids, I got this. I'm too. You think any of that's gonna get on the way if you just actually believe that it's $10 million on the other end of that effort? The best example I could think of is sex. I used to wear my Apple Watch all the time. One day, I'm childish. I turned on the heart rate monitor when we were doing those activities. I'm trying to remember all them streaming so we can keep it to where it won't be getting flagged and stuff. But I realized that my heart rate monitor on my Apple Watch was showing the same type of numbers in there as it was showing at the gym. The difference was the story I'm telling myself at the gym was a different story than the story I'm telling myself when those type of activities happen. Same amount of effort, but it's framed in a different story. Tell yourself a story that's going to motivate you. Make it obvious to your mind that you made in the image of God or whatever you believe. If you want to get super spiritual with it, make it obvious to yourself that the same source that turns acorns into oak trees is the same force that made you. The same force that took you from sperm cell to full blown adult is the same source that made you. And you limitless. And you can do anything that you believe you can do. Manifesting is the process of working on the belief. When you work on the belief, you still have to do the action. But when you believe it's possible, when you believe it's getting you closer to the life you want, you want to take the action. You want to take the action. Let's look at somebody who smokes cigarettes. I worked with hundreds of smokers. And in every session, I asked them, tell me about your first cigarette. Did you enjoy your first cigarette? Ah, hell no, man. I was coughing. I got nauseated. No, my first cigarette was, it wasn't good. Okay, but you just stuck with it, right? And then now you can't quit. You smoking 20 of them things a day and you can't quit. Right? At what point did it become obvious to you that this is something you was gonna do? Because once it became obvious that it was something you was gonna do, your body stopped coughing and started craving it. Same thing happens with success. You might try that first thing, start that first bit. Oh man, they not supporting me. I can't get no customers. I can't get no sales. Go for it again. Bro, it's uncomfortable. I know the first cigarette was uncomfortable. Just keep smoking. Watch what happens. Your body once it become obvious to your mind that this is something you want, this is something you desire to do, your body will bend, it will fold, it will mold to the idea. But it's based on what you're manifesting. We're wrapping up right here. Before we get out of here, what does manifest mean? Let's put it on the screen. If you're on IG watching and you want to see the screen, go find the replay on YouTube. But manifest means to make obvious, clear or obvious to the eye or the mind. Let's look at some synonyms for manifest before we get out of here. Synonym, my fingers are not working. Manifest. Obvious, clear, plain, apparent, evident, palpable, distinct, definite, blatant. These are synonyms for the word manifest. The word wish didn't come up. The word hope didn't come up. If you want to be rich, you got to make it obvious to yourself that you're rich. Peace, God. If you want to lose that weight, you got to make it obvious to you that it's doable. The instant you make it obvious, the instant you make it plain, Google it yourself if you don't believe me. I know on Instagram, y'all can't see my screen. The people watching from Facebook and YouTube, y'all can see my screen. You can see this ain't shit that Big Abundant making up. This is Webster saying that the synonym for manifest is obvious. Until it become obvious to you that you're rich already, you ain't never gonna be rich. Until it become obvious to you that you sexy already, you ain't never gonna be sexy. Till it become obvious to you that you charismatic already, that you can speak on public stages already, that you capable of running a business already, you ain't never gonna do it. The first step is convincing yourself that you can. That's what manifesting is, making it obvious that it's possible. Once you make it obvious that it's possible, the procrastination get out of the way. It get to the point where it ain't, I gotta go to the gym. I get to go to the gym because it's obvious to me that I'm gonna look real. If I just could do this for about 6 months, I'm gonna look different with my clothes off. Make that obvious to yourself. What do you want? What's the dream? What's the thing that you want? Make it obvious to yourself. Journal about that. Journal about how good it's gonna feel when you get it. And what you're doing is you making those changes at the subconscious level, tying your emotion into the feeling of having it. Then you get into the point where you're taking what we call inspired action. But yo, I gotta get out of here. We coming up on 45 minutes. Love y'all. It ain't a damn thing y'all can do about it. Keep tapping into these. We got the brand new group on Facebook, Entrepreneur Secret Weapon, and we're gonna be unlocking even more.